Let's make these ideas concrete, using the simplest example we can find. In our lecture about classical mechanics, we began by discussing a very simple deterministic system, a coin that can show either heads or tails. We can call this a two-state system, or a bit, with the two states being H and T. More formally, we invent a degree of freedom called sigma. That can take on two values named +1 and -1. The state H is replaced by sigma +1 and the state T by sigma -1. Classically, that's all there is to the space of states. The system is either in state sigma equal +1 or sigma equal -1, and there is nothing in between. In quantum mechanics, we will think of this system as qubit. In classical mechanics, we also discuss simple evolution laws that tell us how to update the state from instant to instant. The simplest law is just that nothing happens. In that case, if we go from one discrete instant n to the next n+1, the law of evolution is equal sigma n. Let's expose a hidden assumption that we were careless about in classical mechanics. An experiment involves more than just a system to study. It also involves an apparatus A to make measurement and record the result of the measurement. Yes. In the case of the two-state system, the apparatus interacts with the system, or the spin, and records the value of sigma. Think of the apparatus as a black box. A black box here means we have no knowledge of what is inside the apparatus or how it works. Now this black box have a window that display the result of measurement. There is also this an up arrow on the apparatus. The up arrow is important because it shows how the apparatus is oriented in space. So also has an arrow, and its direction will affect the outcomes of our measurement. We begin by pointing it along the z-axis. So the picture will be like this. Z, Y, and X. So, before measurement, This is the apparatus. Initially, we have no knowledge of whether sigma equal +1 or sigma equal -1. Our purpose is to do an experiment to find out the value of sigma. Before the apparatus interacts with the spin, the window is blank, labeled with a question mark in this picture. After it measures sigma, the window shows a +1 or -1. So it's like this. Now this is like in before measurement A, spin and this apparatus before any measurement is made. And B, spin and apparatus after one measurement has been made, resulting in sigma Z equal +1. The spin is now prepared in the sigma Z equal +1 state. If the spin is not disturbed and the apparatus keeps the same orientation, all subsequent measurements will give the same result. Coordinate axes show our convention for labeling the direction of space. That whole process consisted of a very simple experiment designed to measure sigma. Now that we have measured sigma, let's reset the apparatus to neutral and without disturbing the spin, measure sigma again. Assuming the simple law of this equation before, so this one, now assuming the symbol like this, we should get the same answer as we did the first time. The result sigma equal +1 will be followed by sigma equal +1. Likewise for sigma equal -1. The same will be true for any number of repetition. This is good because it allows us to confirm the result of an experiment. We can also say this in the following way. The first interaction with the apparatus A prepares the system in one of the two states. So we can say that A prepares the system in one of the two states. Subsequent experiment confirm that state. So far, there is no difference between classical and quantum physics. Now let's do something new. After preparing the spin by measuring it with A, we turn the apparatus upside down and then measure sigma again. So now, like this. So it's like upside down. This is flip 180 degrees. This one is Z, Y, and X. The apparatus is flipped without disturbing the previously measured spin. A new measurement results in sigma Z equal -1. What we find is that if we originally prepare sigma +1, the upside down apparatus records sigma -1. Similarly, if we originally prepared sigma equal -1, the upside down apparatus record sigma equal plus 1. In other words, turning the apparatus over interchange sigma plus 1 and sigma minus 1. From this result, we might conclude that sigma is a degree of freedom that is associated with a sense of direction in space. For example, if sigma were an oriented vector of some sort, then it will be natural to expect that turning the apparatus over would reverse the reading. A simple explanation is that the apparatus measures the component of the vector along an axis embedded in the apparatus. Is this explanation correct for all configuration? If we are convinced that the spin is a vector, we would naturally describe it by three components, which is sigma x, sigma z, and sigma y. When the apparatus is upright along the z-axis, it is positioned to measure sigma z. But if we have like this, rotated 90 degree, we have like -1 or +1. Now, the apparatus rotated by 90 degree. A new measurement result in sigma z equal -1 with 50% probability. So before, there is no difference between classical physics and quantum mechanics. The difference only becomes apparent when we rotate the apparatus through an arbitrary angle, say 90 degrees or P per 2 radians. The apparatus begins in the upright position with the up arrow along the z-axis. A spin is prepared with sigma plus 1. Next, rotate the apparatus so that the up arrow points along the x-axis like this, and then make a measurement of what is presumably the x component of the spin, sigma x. If in fact sigma really represents the component of a vector along the up arrow, one would expect to get 0. Why? Initially, we confirmed that sigma was directed along the z-axis, suggesting that its component along x must be 0. But we get a surprise when we measure sigma x. Instead of giving sigma x equals 0, the apparatus gives either sigma x equal +1 or sigma x equal -1. This apparatus A is very stubborn. No matter which way it is oriented, it's refused to give any answer other than +1 or -1. If the spin really is a vector, it is a very peculiar one indeed. Nevertheless, we do find something interesting. Suppose we repeat the operation many times, each time following the same procedure, that is beginning with A along the z-axis, prepare sigma equal +1, rotate the apparatus so that it is oriented along the x-axis, and measure sigma. The repeated experiment spit out a random series of +1 and -1. Determinism has broken down, but in a particular way. If we do many repetition, we will find that number of sigma plus 1 event and sigma minus 1 event are statistically equal. In other words, the average value of sigma is 0. Instead of the classical result, namely that the component of sigma along the x-axis is 0, we find that the average of this repeated measurement is 0. Now let's do the whole thing over again, but instead of rotating A to lie on the x-axis, rotate it to an arbitrary direction along the unit vector n. So it looks like this. So we say that the apparatus rotates by an arbitrary angle within the xz plane. The average measurement result like this. So this. First it goes to n unit vector. Classically, if sigma were a vector, we would expect the result of the experiment to be the component of sigma along this n axis. If n lies at an angle of theta with respect to z, the classical answer would be sigma equal cos theta. But as you might guess, each time we do the experiment, we only get plus 1 or minus 1. However, the result is statistically biased so that the average value is cos theta. The situation is of course more general. We do not have to start with A oriented along Z. Pick any direction M, such as this one, and start with the up arrow pointing along M. Prepare a spin so that the apparatus reaches plus 1. Then, without disturbing the spin, rotate the apparatus to the direction of N as shown in this figure. A new experiment on the same spin will give random result plus 1 or minus 1, but with an average value equal to the cosine of angle between this vector n and m. So, see, average value equal cosine, theta, or dot product of unit vector n and m. The quantum mechanical notation for the statistical average of a quantity Q is Dirac bracket notation. So like this. This is the quantum mechanical notation for the statistical average of a quantity Q. We may summarize the result of our experimental investigation as follows. If we begin with A oriented along unit vector M and confirm that sigma equal plus 1, then the subsequent measurement with A oriented along N unit vector give the statistical result equal dot product of n and m. What we are learning is that quantum mechanical systems are not deterministic. The result of experiment can be statistically random, but if we repeat an experiment many times, average quantities can follow the expectation of classical physics, at least up to a point.